All right, guys, who's ready to try our pecan pie ribs? Follow along today as I show you something off the ordinary path that's guaranteed to catch a sweet tooth. All right, the first thing that we want to do to get our pecan pie ribs ready, you can see that we've already took and skinned the membrane off the back of these ribs here. I'm going to get them turned over. Now you're going to notice these ribs look a little bit smaller in size. These are Prairie Fresh Prime ribs. These are actually some ribs that I've took to the butcher shop, and these will be cut down to competition style. You can see what we've done in them here, or what we've done with them, is right here we've run them on a bandsaw and cut that arch out of them. And the reason we do that is so we can put them in a blind box. Now, just cooking at home, you don't have to do that. That's just something I do for competition, and I had a few racks left over, so I'm going to cook them today on this video. So the first thing that I want to do, I'm not going to use any kind of a binder today or anything. I'm going to use a little bit of pecan rub on this rib only. Now, once I get that season on the backside, I'm going to let it sit here for about 5 minutes and sweat in. I'm going to turn it over and repeat the process. All right, guys, you can see that our ribs have been laying out here about 5 minutes. They've sweated in kind of good. I'm going to get them turned over and season the top side of them. Now, I'm not going to trim any of this fat off or anything else. It should all render out during the cooking process. All right, we're ready to get our ribs on, and let me tell you a little bit about our Deep South smoker. This is a GC42 gravity-fed smoker. You can see you put your charcoal in here, and down here's your firebox. All right, when the charcoal catches down there, you put 2 tumbleweeds in it, light it. It catches up, you shut the door, turn on your fan. I've got it programmed to 300 degrees, and she comes on up to temp. So opening this up, this is what I usually cook competition shoulders on. Today we're gonna cook some ribs on it. You can see it's got a heat distribution tube down here. It's got some holes in it. Now what that does is it allows the grill to cook even all the way across. Let's get these ribs on here and get the grill door back shut. All right, we want to get some wood in the firebox here, so run some ashes. So you can see we've got our ambers down here. You chunk a piece of wood in. I'm going to pop that right there. You got some hot ashes falling down. It will start to smolder, and that's where you get your smoke flavor from. All right, it's been an hour and a half. Our gravity-fed Deep South smoker is still running at 300 degrees. Now, I know that don't seem like a long time. These ribs are cut down a little bit. I would normally probably have to go closer to the 2-hour mark or 2.5-hour mark before I wrap them. But it totally depends on you. I haven't opened the cooker door. I have a sheet pan if they're ready to be wrapped. Let's get in here and find out. All right, looking at these 3 racks of ribs, I would say they're ready to be wrapped, but let's do the trusty smear test. Nothing is coming off. I know those ribs are ready to be wrapped. All right, we've got our pecan pie ribs off the grill. They've been cooking about an hour and a half. I'm gonna take and lay them in some foil here. And I'm not gonna use butter bath today. I'm only gonna use a little bit of apple juice here. That is it. And so I'm gonna go ahead. I know this sounds a little bit strange here. I'm gonna fold my foil over since I've cut my ribs. Come this way. Cover that up now, roll it back that way. Fold it over this way. Now that I've got an opening in here, I'm going to take and pour about half of that apple juice in that rib. That is it. Now, I'm going to set it to the side and keep repeating the process. Now that we've got all 3 of our ribs racked, let's get them back on the cooker and set a timer for another hour. All right, our ribs have been on our deep south smoker now for another hour. I believe they're gonna be the tenderness that we're looking for, so let's get in here and pull them off, carry them over the cutting board and check them. I'd probably get some heat gloves if I were you too. Don't be trying this. Woo! That's warm. All right, we've got our ribs off the cooker. They've cooked for 1 hour in the wrap. I'm gonna get in here and check them. And they were hitting that 200 degrees just a second ago. I've let them kind of vent off. They're chilled down now about 185 where I can get in here and handle them. But when you can take that rib right here and take one bone and the other one, take your fingers, and when you can push one down and pull one up and it wants to come through there, you know that rib is right where it needs to be as far as tenderness. That rib was carried to 200 degrees or a little over. So these now, I want to rest them a few minutes. I'm going to go get my butter pecan glaze, come back out of here and ready to glaze these ribs up. All right, now that our ribs have cooled down and we can actually handle them, I want to get in here and remove them from the foil and lay them up here on this sheet pan. Now, when you get them up on your sheet pan here, I'm honestly gonna take a little bit of my hot barbecue rub, just a little bit. And what you wanna do is you wanna sprinkle just a little bit of hot rub on here. It's got a nice little salty back end, just a spridge of heat that you're looking for. Now this is a butter pecan glaze. I'm gonna put the recipe up on the screen, but it's got half and half milk, it's got brown sugar, it's got butter extract, it's got a stick of butter in it, it's got Karo syrup, and so it's gonna be sweet, so you want just a sweet, salty balance is what we're doing on these ribs. Just a little light glaze like that on the back. Get down your bones. Now I'm gonna turn these over and go on the top side. Now, I'm gonna come back once I've glazed up here and come back with a little bit of that hot rub on top. Now, once you get the hot rub on top, it's up to you if you wanna add a little bit of chopped pecans. I call that my pecan pie rib. All right, the last thing to do is get in here and try our ribs, but before we do, just let me recap. We took some Prairie Fresh Prime baby back ribs that I had trimmed down competition style, and you don't have to do that. These were just some I had in the freezer already trimmed down with the shin bone off of them. I then took and just skinned the membrane off the back, didn't use any binder whatsoever, and used a little bit of my pecan rub to season it down with. I put it on my Deep South gravity-fed GC42 cooker with roll oak lump charcoal, fired it up with tumbleweeds and a little bit of hickory wood chunks after I got them on. I run it 300 degrees for an hour and a half, pulled them out, wrapped them in foil with a little bit of apple juice only for 1 hour. So these ribs have only cooked for 2.5 hours total. They've rested for about 20 minutes before I glazed them, vented out here, and you can see I've stowed some pecans on top of them. One thing optional about the glaze, you can always crush your pecans up and put them in the glaze if you would like to. That's completely up to you. I just left some whole pieces up here just for a little bit of a tension peel. Now let's get in here. I'm gonna pick this rib up. Look at that rib. Tender, juicy, and when you can tear that rib like that right there, and remember, only 3 hours, and you can get in here and peel that out of here. And do you like crab legs? Because this is what I tell the judges. Look at that. I just cracked that one for you. You get a sweet, savory, butter pecan kind of taste with this. The meat's still shining through on its own, but this is just a different kind of recipe that's guaranteed to please a crowd and me. And I can tell you, talking about moisture in a rib, would you look at that? Just look at that moisture underneath there. and that loin coming off that rib. Just to change it up to have something different, folks, I'm telling you, this is a rib that's guaranteed to be different. If you like what we're doing on our channel, be sure to like, subscribe, follow along. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, and of course, YouTube. I'll see you next week with another video.